Hello, and a big welcome to all of you out there who are here today to see and listen to our podcast. And today we have a very special guest. It's Beth Lauren Parrish. A big welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Anne. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, and I know just a little about you. So could you please tell us your journey from where you were and where you are now? Because you have a very exciting journey.
Absolutely. How much time do we have?
About an hour, more or less.
Well, um, first, I just want to thank everyone for listening and being here and just being open to learning new ideas from other people. I think it's a commendable thing. I just like to acknowledge that. And thank you for listening to this one. So basically, I grew up on Long Island in New York. I was very lucky to have had parents that supported me. And I used to take dance lessons when I was a little girl. And then when I was about 8 years old, my great uncle, who was this big energy in my life, like he just was boisterous and fun and just a fantastic human. He actually took me to sit on a pony when I was 5 years old. And I remember it so vividly, thinking, this is amazing. I'm kind of freaked out that this animal lets me sit on it, but this is really cool. And I had that kind of like ingrained in my energy. Like that was amazing. I think I might want to try it again. But, I just went about my life. I was very much involved with hanging out with my dog. We were bonded. I had a bearded collie. And so I had this affinity for animals in general. When I was 8 years old, he passed away from cancer. And so I never experienced what death was like or had to grieve. So I just turned to my parents and said, I think I'd like to take riding lessons to keep it in the family. And they were like, okay, because he was the only one who rode. He did fox hunting and they didn't know much about anything. So they found me a local stable literally 10 minutes away from the house and just started taking me to these riding lessons. And it was one of those like backyard type lesson places where they just kind of threw you on it and no lunge lessons. It was just like, here, this is what you do. And I think my second lesson, I utilized the flying dismount because the pony started to and it was just kind of haphazard and wild. And I loved it, but I was also getting butterflies all the time. And I didn't understand what that was at that age. But it was anxiety because I really loved what I was doing, but I was also freaked out because I didn't feel supported by these instructors. So eventually we found another place a little farther away, about 30 minutes. And that was my home away from home. It was a beautiful place to learn. They had a summer camp and they had really structured horse science where you learn how to take care of the horse as well as learn to ride. And I was so grateful that I was able to shift over to that place. And then the butterflies settled down. So skipping forward, I've taken many, many years of lessons, summer camps. I went to a lot of horse shows where I did the jumpers, equitation. And then when I went to college, I got a degree in international studies in North Carolina. And I still was able to take riding lessons. I became a working student for many of the stables nearby. I would clean stalls, so I'd get lessons. But it was always a part of my life. I just couldn't leave it. And so when I graduated, I got a degree in international studies and I studied in Switzerland. The UN was our library for 6 months. It was a pretty wild experience. I traveled around the world, even got to go to ride a mare with my host family's friend. She had 2 horses. We were galloping along the countryside and she turned to me at one point and said, "Do you have your passport?" I said, "No, why?" She goes, "Because we're in France right now," because we were on the border. I was like, "Oh no, we better turn around." Like we were just laughing and we just galloped back. And it was just such a beautiful, fun experience. So I've always had some really wonderful times with horses. And I never had like a deep fear in any sense until later in life. So once I graduated, I decided I would take the summer off, and I found out they were looking for riding instructors at a summer camp up in Maine, in northern part of this country on the East Coast. And so I started teaching beginner lessons. And by the end of the summer, I was teaching beginning jumping lessons. And I just took to it. I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm in love with this." My parents were like, "What about your degree?" I'm like, "Well, now I can commune with humans and horses and combine that because I have a good sense of diplomacy now." Many horse trainers, they're very good with the horses and they're a little brusque with humans. So I feel I'm very adept at that, which makes me feel better to be able to communicate what we need in the lesson and outside of the lessons as well. So I started teaching, and then I ended up teaching in Manhattan, in New York City at the Chelsea Piers. And this was before 9/11. It was right at the year 2000. And I taught probably 10 lessons in a row in the weekends and like 4 or 5 during the week. And I was just full into it, just teaching, teaching, teaching. Absolutely loved all the lessons, except for the part where the kids, my students, mostly kids and some adults, they were never allowed to go back to help take care of the horses because it was a liability issue. So the grooms would get the horses ready and they'd be all tacked up and just hand the horse to me. And then I'd bring the rider over to the mounting block. They'd get on, ride, then we'd send the horse back. So I felt like there's a huge element missing there. And I was grateful to be able to really jump into the deep end and teach a lot. And there were about 6 or 7 other instructors. And I made it a point to get there early and take lessons from the other instructors. And I went back to my childhood instructor who worked with a well-known dressage trainer on the East Coast. And so I started taking dressage lessons as an adult and realized, oh, if I had learned that more as a kid, I could have helped the horses even more. I just fell in love with dressage as well. So I started combining all of my loves and absolutely adored teaching. So by the time spring came around, I was starting to notice that the management was a little bit weird. So that business was starting to fold at the Chelsea Piers. So I started looking to the West Coast where my friends were in California. I ended up being a working student for a woman who would retrain racehorses to become riding horses. So I was her assistant trainer, and there's where I started to develop more fear. I started falling off a lot more because these horses were just like, I don't know, we just know how to run. So
Mm.
I was just jumping with them. They would buck, I would fly off. So I was starting to get anxiety, and I had never had that before, besides the very first few lessons as a kid. And I didn't understand how to manage it. And at one point, there was a voice inside of me that said, "You're going to fall off today." And it kind of took me back. And I was in my early 20s. And I was like, that was weird. I mean, my sister's very intuitive, so I'm aware of things to be aware of, in other dimensions and things like that. I'm very much into learning about esoteric learning. But at that point, I was just kind of like, I need to do my job. I've got to take care of this horse that my trainer wants me to ride. And I didn't do anything differently. I didn't do extra groundwork. I just got on and rode, and we're trotting along nonchalantly. Sure enough, something across the street spooked him. He bucked. He was about 17 one hand. I landed straight on my arm, which I have this beautiful scar here. Where is it? Right here. So I have a metal plate there, and I had crushed my elbow. So I went immediately into surgery. And when I woke up from surgery, all I can think of was I had an intuitive hit. My gut was saying something was going to happen, and I ignored it. So from that day, I never ever ignore my intuition. And that's where I teach my students, okay, if there's something going on inside of you that I can't necessarily sense, you're going to need to express that to me. And then we can dial things back and slow things down, hop off if you need to, take a breath. So that was a huge moment for me. And once I started really tuning into that, that's when I developed what I call inspired riding. So I basically will get intuitive ideas of what to do with the horse and rider. And then, of course, I'll ask the client, does that feel good to you? Does that feel good to the horse? And so it becomes this beautiful co-creation when we're doing our sessions. So from there, I was in California many years, met my husband, who's from Texas. We got married, moved to Texas. And that's where I really developed inspired riding even more. And I was a mobile trainer. And then I had people coming to my place, took them to local shows, and we had a wonderful time. From there, there was a fire that had us leave that place. Then we were kind of like in disarray for about a year. And then I ended up not listening to my intuition again, came off my thoroughbred, tore my knee, had to have surgery. So we moved to Georgia, in Atlanta, where my husband could get more film work because he's in the film industry. So by that time, I was just kind of miserable, to be honest. And I was like, what am I going to do? I've just had all these beautiful students and now I'm in a brand new place. I'm trying to figure out what to do. So I ended up creating online courses, and that was my way to help connect with people around the world. And then I started teaching remotely. So I was teaching remotely even before COVID. So it became a blessing because I understood all the technology, how to get it working. So when my friends who are instructors had to figure that out, I was able to help them. So that was really cool. So now I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, almost, 6 years? And I've been so blessed. This place has been phenomenal. We are able to have the horses at the property, and I can go out and do videos with them to help with my clients. I can just go and play and ride whenever my horse says, yes, this is cool. This is good for us to do it. And then I basically started developing more programs. I created guided meditation. And then later on, I realized there was still a piece missing to help build confidence for my clients. So I became certified as a hypnotherapist in rapid transformational therapy. And that is a phenomenal form of powerful hypnotherapy that could help people in 1 to 3 sessions. Oftentimes it's just one session and it's very intense. And then once the session's over, then they have a transformation audio to listen to every day for about a month. And it's amazing how it shifts. So I've been so grateful that I've got this insatiable desire to keep helping, keep learning, and keep growing on my journey. And yeah, so I've got this business I've been building up for many years now, and I love being able to share about it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. As I said, we are colleagues. We all doing the same thing and want to help people. And you were talking about this feeling you have, gut feeling, and I think a lot of people ignore that today. I have also felt that, and that you have to remind people that it is the unknown that is terrible and fearful. When you know your horse and when you are talking to your horse and cooperate and you listen to your gut feeling, then it's a whole other thing.
It really is. And, you know, in traditional riding lessons, you're taught to just do what the trainer tells you,
Mm.
right? And that's typically out of respect because they know what they're doing. But also, there's just a little bit of ego there, if you think about it. So, what you want to do is find a way to tactfully explain to them that you need a moment. And that's something I coach my clients with when they're working with their clinicians, working with their instructors live. I tell them to just mention, listen, I understand what you're saying. I totally get it. And I will be able to do that. However, in this moment right now, I need to take a breath. I need to walk for a moment. I need to go do a figure eight and come back to this exercise that you're asking me to do because I feel like something's not quite right with me or with my horse and I want to get back in sync. Or if you're really feeling off, you say, listen, in order to preserve my relationship with my horse and not let him think that I've floated away from my body, I need to hop off right now and get grounded. And be okay with saying that. And then also I want to help encourage other instructors to be okay with that too. And realize that that's part of the learning process and that you want to feel like you're supporting that kind of environment because ultimately that's what's going to help the horse.
Mm.
Because if you're trying to soldier on and push on, even because your instructor said you got to do it, but inside you're just a mess, then that's not going to help your horse because they feel everything.
Mm. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a big problem for instructors as well, that they have to keep the thing going, and as you said, they feed the horses, they saddle the horses, and then you just get up on the back and riding, and you miss a very big piece there.
Absolutely. And the biggest part I see is when riders aren't able to experience that connection with the horse, everything just becomes kind of mechanical.
Mm.
And, you know, you can do your best to send love from your heart to the horse while you're riding. But it's really the times when you're not riding where you get to bond. You get to find their itchy spots and then they get that little camel lip going. And that's like one of my favorite things to do. Like,
Mm.
where can I help you feel your best? You know, how can I learn a little bit of massage body work to help the horse?
Mm.
And just sit there and breathe with them. And that's
Mm.
one of the reasons I created my meditations is you can listen to them while you're grooming your horse. You can listen to them while you're just hanging out with them. There's one just called Appreciation Avalanche, where you're appreciating everything around you, everything within you, and everything about your horse. And that's a beautiful one to start out with, of course, especially if you're a little nervous, because if you can shift into appreciation, that'll help calm the fears down.
And if you do it together with your horse, it will be yeah, even easier.
Yeah, then you're gonna sync
Yeah.
up because you have to think their energy fields are so big, and it's almost like they're giving us an energetic hug. And if our energy is a little bit funky, they're gonna say, "It doesn't feel so good," and they might just start dancing around. But if you're getting really grounded and connected to your body and your breath, and then once you breathe, I like to do what are called horse eyes. You go
Yeah.
up in the
I do
horse.
too. Yeah.
And so once you do that, then you guys can sync up, and then your energy fields can really feel like they're dancing together more
Mm,
in a more harmonious way.
that's right. So you have courses. Have you um are you there yourself, or you have digital courses, or what is it all about?
Oh, sure. So I have several courses. The one that I've highlighted recently that's really helpful, it's called Brave in the Saddle. It's a 12-week program. So basically, you have videos to go through each week, and you get an email from me about, okay, you're on this week, you should be focusing on this. And then you have a private Facebook group where you can share in there. And at the end of the program, you can actually send videos to me and I can analyze and give feedback. And then if they're keen on moving forward, they can move into the Inspired Riding Connection group. And in there, I give feedback every week on videos. We meet twice a month in group Zoom meetings. And then they also get discounted private remote lessons from me. So the Brave in the Saddle program has a bunch of videos to just help you go slowly and step by step. And I have specific meditations that I suggest as well for these. And it's really a beautiful way to kind of balance your mind, body, and spirit to help you feel your best for the riding. So whether you've had a long break or you haven't ridden in a while, or you've just had an injury and you're just been cleared to ride and your body's ready, but your mind and heart are like, I don't know yet.
Mhm.
So that's where this program is perfect. It fills in the holes for your regular riding lesson.
Yeah. And you're also talking about all these thoughts, and so I call them brain spooks.
Brain spooks.
Yes.
Say more on that.
What's that?
Can you say more on that?
Well, it's your brain that spooks for you and tell you not to go on the horse and all that. We say that in Swedish, brain spooks, if you speak Swedish. So I always talk about it like brain spooks.
Oh yeah, I can totally see that. So usually it happens where for us we call it like those what if scenarios, the what if negative
Mm. Yeah.
scenarios, they just pop up out of
Yes.
nowhere. And I'll literally go, that's rude.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine. So, and then you have to assess, like sometimes they'll pop up because it's trying to keep you safe, right?
Mm, mm.
So our lizard brain is always there to go, are you going to stay alive from this one? Let's make sure, let's make sure you're crossing all you're checking off all of your
Yeah.
things where you stay safe and you're taking your time and you're checking in with yourself, checking in with your horse. And that's one of the reasons I have a journal and I also have a mobile app where basically instead of journaling after your ride, you tune in before and you write down how you're feeling. You get a sense of how your horse is feeling, either energetically from your heart or just looking at your horse. And then you write it down. And then you write down the goals that you have for yourself and for your ride and see if it coincides with when you actually get on and ride. And then after, you just write down how it went. And if your horse were to give you advice on how to make things better, you write that down too.
Mm,
So it's really nuanced in that, it's not just about your goals. It's about like, how are you feeling in this moment and how can you make things better for both you and your horse?
mm. And a good thing to write it down before uh, is that you can go back, because, as I said, the writing is not going like this; it's going like this, and then you go down and up again and down. And when you are down, you can look back at what you have been writing and see, "Wow, I have come this far." Then I can go further again.
Exactly. It's
Mm.
really a valuable tool to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there anything else you want to tell us about?
Well, I could share one of the things I love to teach my clients in the beginning. I call it the mounting block ritual.
Mhm.
So, if you've done your journaling and just tuned in with how you're feeling, you want to make sure that you're really in your body, meaning breathing down to your toes basically, and just making sure that your thoughts are focused on appreciation and what you'd like to achieve in the moment and not about, oh, what if this happens? And so basically what you do is you get yourself really connected to your breath, and you can either do this while you're actually on the steps of the mounting block, or you can do it on the ground before you get to the mounting block, whatever feels good. Basically, what you do is you just get yourself breathing, connected to your body, and then you send love and appreciation to your horse. Now, if you're on the mounting block and your horse doesn't mind, you could place a hand on the withers, a hand behind the saddle. It could be hovering or touching the horse, whatever they prefer. And then you just breathe and tell them, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for this ride. And then I want you to think about maybe 30 seconds of the most amazing feeling. You had the most successful ride ever, and it was brilliant. And you just visualize that. And then you take that feeling into your body as if it's finished, as if that ride is over before you even begin. And then you thank your horse as if the ride is over, like, thank you for that, and get that feeling going. And then you make sure they're ready. Like, are you ready for me to get on? If so, hop on, give them little scratches, say thank you, and then off you go. And this could literally take like 60 seconds to 30 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever feels good to you and your horse. Some are just like, just get on. We got things to do. Others are cool to chill, so every horse is different, just like people. So just be aware of that and experiment with it. And I do have a meditation that goes along with it in my free course called Create a Powerful Bond with Your Horse. And you can find that on my website. So it's very clear right in there. But if every rider were to take those moments right before and get yourself filled with love and appreciation and future focus a little bit, thank your horse, make sure they're ready. If you start doing that, things will really start to shift in your relationship.
That's right. That's right. People are very stressed today,
Yeah.
and yeah, they go to work and they drive a long way to their home, and they go out to the horse, and now I should relax, but uh, it's not working that way. But if you take this moment just to calm down and breathe with your horse, it's fantastic.
It's a beautiful gift to give yourself and to give your horse.
Yes, yes. Tell me a little more about your app.
Absolutely. So it's called the Focus app, and it gets you to focus on what you need in that moment. So we have three elements to the Focus app. We have the digital journal. So just like I mentioned, it has you check in beforehand and after, and it'll also give you little prompts for ideas right in the journal. And then you can also add your horse's picture. And so you can keep track of that, which is really fun each day. And then we have 26 different equestrian focused meditations. You can just dial those in, and then you can click ones for your favorites to save those. And then the part that was the most complicated, but I was so grateful I found an app developer to help me, is we created a 4-question quiz that will produce result for whatever it is that you need in the moment. So basically the questions are, how are you feeling? How is your horse feeling? What have you done in the past comfortably? And what do you feel like doing right now? And so even if you've done like jumpers and all these complicated things, if you just say, I just want to do some basic groundwork right now, and that will show up for you. So a video will show up, and the videos vary anywhere between like 30 seconds and 5 to 7 minutes. They're all just short things for you to focus on in the moment. Then you can save your videos. You can also click watch another video similar to that one, and then you can just take the quiz over, and then you have a history of all of your quizzes that you've done, so you can always go back and look and see. So it's really amazing. I have over 100 little videos in there, and everyone who's using it absolutely loves it. And so I'm just very grateful that it's out there in the world and that it can help people. And in just that little moment if you don't
Mhm.
have an instructor right there with you and you want to just think of something fun to do with your horse.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can do with the technique today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How are you find your customers?
Here's what it looks like if anyone's actually watching the video here.
Yes?
So hopefully they can see that.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Yeah, many Christians talk about, yeah, I'm not that technical and I can't do that and so on. But I think it's really just to get into it, and then you have a lot of fun things you can do with it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've worked with a lot of clients who are older than me. I'm 45 this year, and so many of them have a learning curve, but I'm always happy to help with tech support. So,
Yeah.
especially with the remote lessons, like I actually have a 15-minute free check your tech before we even do a lesson session. So, I give them a checklist to go through, and then we get on and we make sure everything is good. So that way, when it's time for their lesson, they don't have to worry. They just know they've got it all set up.
Mm.
So I'm all about supporting in many ways.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Wow. Yeah. Is there anything more you want to
Well,
talk
I could
about?
I could share about my book if you like.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I wrote this. It's called Your Horse Believes in You. It's available in paperback, and I also recorded the Audible. So the first part is all about inspired riding and the philosophy of my teaching. And the second part is all about my stories in life, because I know I mentioned I broke my arm and tore my knee. I've also had 3 other surgeries, 2 internal. I had a hysterectomy, and then also my stomach ended up being in my chest. It was a hiatal hernia. They had to move that down. And then after my knee surgery, 6 months later, I slipped in the house and broke my femur. So now I have a 9-inch plate in my leg. So I've been through so many different surgeries, so many different ways to rehab and recover my body. But then I also had to build my confidence little by little. So I really wanted to share that to inspire people that no matter what you've been through, you can get through it. And it might not feel like it used to, but you'll find a new sense of normalcy that will still bring you joy. And
Mm.
that's the whole thing is I want to make sure that people can find some sense of joy every day, even if it's just, being able to smell your horse's muzzle. Like that's my
Mm.
most favorite thing.
Mhm.
Every horse has a different aroma if you ever noticed.
Yeah, yeah. They have.
And then the third part is actually channeled messages from my horses, and they all have different beautiful messages to share. So if you want, I could just read a little section really quick.
Yes, yes. Do that.
So I'll choose Biffy. Biffy was my heart horse. He passed away 10 years ago on Saturday, actually. So kind of a beautiful anniversary to honor him. He was a Polish Arabian. He was my main lesson horse and the horse that I was able to build my confidence back up after I'd broken my arm. And he was just a beautiful caretaker. So I have them do a full message, and at the very end, they do a message to the horses. So I'll read that. My message to humans. I'm sorry, to humans, not to horses. But it all works. My message to humans from Biffy. All it takes is one small gesture to change how you look at the world. Think about how you can help someone right now. If you can make it your mission to do one small thing each day, it will become a gorgeous habit. And if every human did this every single day, wow, what a change would occur for the entire world. Be sure to notice when others are feeling low. Reach out when you can and ask if you can simply be with them. They might want to just graze together in silence, or they might need to run around and release some tension. Whatever it is, be there for them. Then they can be there for you. That is how you create true connection. Become aware of the world around you, ask how you can help, and engage with what is needed.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so right. And just as you say recently that you just to feel the horses, to smell them and be with them. So many people feels like that you have to ride them, but that's not the case. Just to be with them is fantastic.
Yeah, just
So
their existence is a blessing.
yeah.
If they allow you to ride, that is an honor and a gift that we have to really acknowledge and thank
Mhm.
all the time for that.
That's right. Yeah, that was exciting to talking to you, and I will share your link. But where will people get in touch with you? Is it uh, yeah, Facebook, or where do
Oh,
you have your?
I have plenty of ways to find me. The first way is my website, inspiredriding.com. And there at the very bottom, there's a contact page. You can email me, or you could also jump onto any of the free courses that I have. You'll find those in the everything section at the very bottom. And so then you'll become on my mailing list and you'll be able to contact me that way. You can also find me on facebook.com/inspired riding. Same thing for Instagram at inspired riding. Same thing for YouTube. So we have the same handle for all of those. And I also have a wonderful group. It's free to join. It's called the Inspired Riders, a supportive group for horse people. And it's very kind and supportive. And it's like a beautiful, safe space on the internet that most people are surprised to find and delighted, because I'm very protective about who joins, and we are all very supportive of each other. So if anyone wants to join that, feel free. Yeah.
Sounds great. It's so fantastic to meet someone who is just just like yourself. It's very inspiring.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So if you want to, uh, you just reach out and talk to Beth or join her group or something. So thank you very much for being here in my podcast. And thanks to all of you out here who have been listening and seeing this. And please subscribe so we can get on and have new people every week here. Thank you so much, Beth, for being here.
Thank you so much, and may the horse be with you always.
Thank you.